DiGiGrid advanced audio hardware units all come with Waves SoundGrid Studio and StudioRack. One of the key advantages of this hardware is the ability to record at ultra-low latencies with all of your plugins active. If you're working with an iOS or a DLS and a Pro Tools I/O with no Pro Tools card, you'll see a monitor section in StudioRack that looks like this. For your plugins to be allocated to the SoundGrid DSP server built into your DLS or iOS, they need to be instantiated within Waves StudioRack. And StudioRack can be set up to automatically go into input mode when you go into record, making sure that you get the lowest latency while still hearing your plugins. So before we go into the plugin, we want to set up communication between StudioRack and your DAW to sync up transport so that it automatically toggles between input and playback. Open the Peripherals settings window. Now click on MIDI controllers. From the Type drop-down, select HUI. And from the Receive From and Send To drop-downs, select Waves SoundGrid StudioRack. Now click OK. Opening StudioRack on a track, you'll see that I've got the plugin in local CPU mode right now. To record with ultra-low latency, I'm going to need to be in SoundGrid mode, so let's change that right now. I also need to make sure that the track input and the input channels selected in the monitor section of StudioRack are the same, so that SoundGrid Studio does its part behind the scenes in the process. Now, to make sure that I'm recording in low latency, I'm going to click this button here labeled Auto. Whenever the transport is playing, it will be in playback. When audio is stopped or you're recording, it will be in input mode. As with any plugins in your session, it's always good to keep an eye on how much latency is currently on a track. StudioRack makes that easy. Just click the arrow next to any plugin, and you'll see the plugin's latency and the latency of the entire rack of plugins in that instantiation of StudioRack. Happy recording!